Previously on Esoteric Atlanta. It was about the fallen angels. Lucifer. Laura interjects, have you read who the seas say Lucifer is? I know this answer to this question. So Laura's interjecting here because we already know, the seas have already told us who Lucifer is and who the fallen angels are. She says, Roxanne says, one of the fallen angels, the angels of light, it is a lot to go through. They say, before we can answer some things, you must ask other things. And before we get into the episode today, just a special thank you to all of our patrons and our producers here on Esoteric Atlanta. Without you guys, this show would not be possible. If you would like to help support the work we do here on Esoteric Atlanta, there's a link to our Patreon account down in the description box below. Laura Knight's Cassiopean experiments, often associated with the Cassiopeia material, involves the exploration of consciousness, spirituality, and the nature of reality. Through various methodologies, including channeling and psychic experiments, Knight and her collaborators sought to communicate with higher intelligences, particularly a group of entities referred to as the Cassiopeans. The primary aim was to gain insight into the metaphysical questions, the nature of existence, and human development. The experiments included multi-session discussions that cover topics like multidimensional realities, free will, and the influence of higher dimensional beings on humanity. Knight recorded these sessions, which often contained profound philosophical and esoteric insights, and these records became part of a larger body of work that aimed to explore consciousness beyond conventional scientific understanding. The overall tone of the experiments reflect a blend of skepticism and deep inquiry into the nature of consciousness and our place in the universe. Laura Knight began her communication with the Cassiopeans in 1994. She is still in communication with the Cassiopeans to this day. If you would like a better understanding of the Cassiopeans and their impact on humanity, I would highly suggest checking out the Wave series by Laura Knight, the Cassiopean Forum, which a link will be provided in the description box below, or purchasing the book that I personally am reading from that contains all of the transcripts and conversations between Laura and the Cassiopeans. The Cassiopeans base the soul's evolution and consciousness on the spiritual template known as the Law of One. The Law of One is also known as the raw material. It is a series of philosophical texts that emerged from a series of channeling sessions conducted by Carla Rucker, Don Elkins, and Jim McCarthy in the early 1980s. The sessions involved channeling a consciousness known as Ra, who claimed to be a collective of extraterrestrial beings from the sixth density. The key concepts in the Law of One are unity and oneness. The central tenet of the Law of One is that all beings are fundamentally interconnected and are expressions of the same universal consciousness. The phrase, "we are all one," encapsulates this idea, emphasizing that unity is the essence of existence. It also covers the densities of existence. The material describes the cosmos as composed of multiple densities or levels of existence. Each density represents a stage of spiritual evolution, with humans currently experiencing a third density, which is characterized by lessons in love, understanding, and most importantly, making choices. We also seek to understand in the Law of One soul evolution. According to Ra, souls undergo a process of evolution through these densities, learning and growing through various incarnations. The choice between these paths influences one's spiritual evolution and the experiences one encounters in life. There's also discussions of the role of free will. Free will is considered sacred, and individuals are encouraged to explore and make choices regarding their spiritual development without interference from higher beings. If you would like more information on the Law of One, please make sure to check out the material for yourself. A link to all resources will be posted down in the description box below. But for now, let's get on with the show. Okay, you guys, I'm being so bad today. I totally just changed my schedule because I just finished editing the video that's going to air before this one. I know you guys saw a clip of it in the opening, and I was like, I just got to keep going because I realized when they talked, we're going to get to Oak Island. Don't worry, we're going to get to Oak Island. But there's a question in the previous reading where they ask about the fallen angels and Lucifer. And I realized I didn't go into it because I thought that we had spoken about the fallen angels and Lucifer on YouTube and Rumble, but I realized that that was actually spoken about over on the Esoteric Academy. And so that's why I didn't go into it, because I was like, why beat a dead horse? Like, we've already talked about this. Then I was like, editing, I was like, wait a minute. We haven't spoken about this on YouTube or on Rumble. So we're going to look in it because this is so fascinating who they say the fallen angels are and who they say Lucifer is. And so we're going to look at that today. Again, we're going to get to Oak Island, guys. There's like 31 years. Again, there's 31 years of transcripts here. So we're going to be doing this for a while. And I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying going through these Cassiopean transcripts. I was right now supposed to be filming. We're going to be doing a somatic summer on the Esoteric Academy. It's no rush. I've still got time, but I was going to start filming for that. But I just wanted to sit down and go through this stuff with you guys. That's why I changed my schedule. So here I go, here I go, here I go again. What's a weakness, men? Anyway, the Shoop song there. But I'm going to say quickly before we get into this, if this might trigger people, okay? Talking about the fallen angels and talking about Lucifer. You're only going to be able to sit through this if you have an open mind and maybe some self-reflection, because it's going to take a lot to have. For all of us, collectively, we have to have a lot of self-reflection to accept what we're hearing. And again, you can entertain it. As Aristotle says, one of my favorite quotes, it's a sign of an intelligent mind when you can entertain an idea without accepting it. So just because I'm reading this from the Cassiopeans does not mean that you have to accept it, but please do not act out violently in the comment section because what the Cassiopeans are saying conflicts with your opinions. Because remember, when it comes to this type of stuff, this is all just opinion-based and research-based. I trust the Cassiopeans. It doesn't mean that I don't take what they say with a grain of salt, but they have not steered us wrong yet in 31 years, and they're very aware of free will, and they very much try not to interfere with free will. And so we're going to look at it. We're going to look at what they say the fallen angels are, and again, as always, you guys, we talk about multiple subjects on the same reading. They don't just cover one subject. So there's going to be some other stuff spoken about, but it's all important. It all ends up being very, very important. And I thank you guys, again, for being so supportive of doing this work, going through the Cassiopeans. I'm just going to be a little bit honest with you guys for a moment. Some vulnerability. Around December, I started to feel really burnt out. Like really, I'm going to get emotional. I didn't realize I was going to get emotional. Felt like a wave of emotion. Really burnt out with researching. I just got to the point where I just did not want to do any research. After 5 years of sitting at this desk and poring over books and books and taking so much information in, I just felt like I needed a break from research. I know I'm good at researching because I'm petty and I like to learn things, and I love reading through lawsuits. And it's amazing how mysterious the world works and how karmically things work, because when I got to December and I'm putting so much energy into the Esoteric Academy, which is amazing, I was like, I need to find something to do on my channel so I can continue to grow with you guys and we can continue to learn together, but doesn't involve me burning the candle at both ends. Because once you start burning the candle at both ends, you're not going to get, my research is going to fall apart. Like, it's not going to be when there's no more energy to give. And that's what happens when you reach burnout, right? And so I, all of a sudden, my boyfriend and I were talking about the Cassiopeans, and he was like, kind of gave me the idea, why don't you just start going through the transcripts with people? He was like, I don't think anybody else is doing that online. It's actually going through these transcripts. People talk about the Cassiopeans, they'll interview Laura Knight, but I've never run across somebody that's actually going through the transcripts with people. And so This has been really nice for me to do this with you guys. I've read a lot of these transcripts myself, but sometimes when I read them out loud and I hear them versus just reading them to myself, and even though I'm talking to a camera right now, I know you guys are watching this at the other end, and it helps me work it out in my head too. And I love hearing what you guys have to say in the comment section, not the abusive stuff, but like the stuff that you guys noticed in these readings or how this affected you. And I feel like, you know, the Cassiopeans have said that for a while, that our job is to network, to work together, to have communion over this. And so I thank you guys for giving me the space to do this for a little while, just to kind of refresh myself so that eventually I can get back to the research and the deep dives with you guys, and I'm not so burnt out and I have a freshness when it comes to looking at strange cases. But this is opening up a lot of stuff for us to talk about. And so I thank you again for being so supportive of this work. It's different. Like, doing my deep dives and my research is a different type of energy than this is. This also does take a lot of energy, but the editing process isn't as in depth. And so I thank you guys for giving me the space to do this. And I'm so glad. If you guys didn't like doing this, I wouldn't do it anymore. But if I would just do it with my boyfriend, we would just talk about it together. But the fact that I'm getting such a positive response from you guys with the Cassiopeans, it feels really special. And I feel like the Cassiopeans are guiding this. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was a reading where they kind of alluded to the fact, like back in the 90s, that one day this work was going to be spread. And so I'm happy to play a part in that. I feel honored to play a part in spreading the Cassiopeans' work. And as I've said before in other videos, I've had other content creators reach out to me since I started doing this, asking if they would mind if they looked over some of the transcripts on their channels. And hell yeah, do it. Like, I don't own this. This is not my research. I don't own this is just, it's for everyone. So if you own a channel and you want to go through some of these transcripts yourself, go for it. Please do. Please do. The more eyes we have on this stuff, the more this information gets shared, the faster we're probably going to get out of the predicament that we're in. You know, and pertaining to the last episode where we kind of got into the ego, my boyfriend and I were talking about it this morning, actually. You know, part of the reason when we got in this mess to begin with the bad guys of the world, the establishment, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, is because we got lazy. We got lazy. And we're still lazy. Most of the quote unquote truthers out there want people to do the work for them. They don't want to get off their ass and actually work on themselves. They want to sit around and blame other people and blame the bad guys. And just by watching people drop information on YouTube, they want to feel like they're a part of it without actually doing anything. And I feel like when the Cassiopeans, when their message starts getting bigger, it's going to help people like really wake up and really realize that sitting around and waiting for somebody else to come save you is what put us in this position. That's why there's controlled opposition. Like, you guys get that, right? That's why they're like 99% of the truthers on YouTube are paid by the Illuminati, because they want to keep you lazy. Because if you don't do anything, then the New World Order can just keep on rolling on in. And so whatever we can do to inspire people to truly take their power back, wake people up. Honestly, I think that at this point, the truthers are more asleep than the normies. They've literally been rocked way back into a deep sleep. They're like an REM, deep hypnotic sleep, because they believe it's all been taken care of. They believe someone's going to come rescue them, give them all this money, give them this machine that's going to make them young again, and they don't have to lift a finger. And that's not why you came to Earth, right? Enjoy. You have a body, use it. You have a life, use it. And so I know I've been like screaming this for years now, and I know at this point it is preaching to the choir. I know you guys get it. As long-winded as this is, the point is, if the Cassiopean message gets spread more, then it's beneficial to all of us. In fact, if you're a content creator and you share the Cassiopeans and you read through their transcripts, send me a link to your video. I'll share it on my community tab. Because the more we can all come together and do our own work together, the faster this shit show is going to be over, right? So share away, you guys. Like, I'm just so happy so many people are really loving this. And again, every video with the Cassiopeans, I am going to have that introduction where I talk about the Law of One and Laura Knight, just so people know what it is we're actually talking about or who this group is. or what service to self mean or what service to others mean. So I know I got that comment once where someone wanted it taken down. It's like, no. We need to be able to make sure that everybody has all the information they need. So if you're inspired by this, you can get the Law of One, you can start reading the forum for yourself, and you know more about where to look for the information. You can always just move the cursor. I don't do lives that much, so usually these are pre-recorded. So once they're loaded, you can move the cursor through the couple minutes at the beginning if you want to. So, all right, you guys, let's get into this today. We're going to be talking about the fallen angels, amongst other things. Okay, so this is from the 7th of January, 1995. And as you guys see, I typed in, there's a lot of stuff. So I went kind of back to the beginning. We might have read some of this transcript before. I don't think so, though. But regardless, I do want to look at it again because we do want to talk about the fallen angels and Lucifer and the Cassiopeans' perspective of what this is. Because once we hear their perspective of who the fallen angels are, who Lucifer is, hopefully that's going to really inspire people to get off their butts and start doing some self-reflection, start doing some shadow work, all that kind of stuff. So again, the 7th of January, 1995, once again, as I always do, how old were you? I was 12. No, I was about to turn 12, wasn't I? Because January 7th, 1995, we've just been in 1994, which I was 11 in 1994. Yeah, I had to think about it for a second. Yeah, 1983. So 1994, I was 11. So I was about to turn, I was less than a month away from turning 12, which my birthday is February 4th, 1983. So yeah, I was about to turn 12. All right. So we have Frank, Laura, Terry, Jan, V, D, and T. And just to remind you guys, Laura, that's her real name. We know that. I don't know if that's Frank's real name or if Terry and Jan, a lot of these people that work with Laura, her team, do use fake names. So just wanted to put that out there. I understand why they're using fake names. Totally. I totally get it. Okay. Laura, hello. Hello, victim V, laughter. So we have obviously V must be a new person. So they redacted the name. So V, D, and T might just be like their first initials of redacted names. So victim V, laughter. Who do we have with us tonight? Powder. Powder added to the board. Laura. Now, I guess you'll want some aftershave too. Aftershave, please. Are you a discarnate? No. Who are you? A light being. And where do you communicate from? Cassiopeia. Okay, question, Laura. We have a few interesting questions tonight. I think the first thing on everybody's mind is the strange events during the night and early morning hours reported by Terry and Jan, compared with events that happened that John said that he experienced, and also Terry's dad, and also something woke up A, redacted, with a start, and I was awakened with a strange feeling. We are a little bit too curious about this event, this occurrence. Would you like to have some information on it? What I've read ahead. What is it exactly? Thunder. Thunder. I think I've quoted this one before. And I want to say too, when we're looking at these questions, remember guys, no one's writing these questions down in the moment. They have a tape recorder that's recording their conversations, because if you've noticed, the board moves really fast. And so after they've had the session, Laura then goes back and listens and writes everything down. So when we're looking at, sometimes these questions do read a little weird. They're run-on sentences, all that kind of stuff, because it's conversation. People are just talking. And so she's writing exactly as verbatim as it's been stated. So that's why sometimes these sentences read a little weird, because it's just like you and me having a conversation right now. We're not actually literally making sure we have complete sentences. We're just talking to each other. And at this point, they are based out of, I believe, Tampa. Well, I mean, Tampa, Sarasota, all that whole area, Florida, St. Petersburg, that's all like, it's all different cities, but they're all kind of there together. So that's where they're based at this moment. Now Laura lives in France, but at this moment, they're in Florida. So they all live in that area. So obviously there was a storm and they all were awakened by the thunder. Laura, it seemed to be an extraordinarily massive strike, and it seemed to have been heard at great distance in several directions. Where, in fact, did this lightning bolt strike? Answer. Cell was uniformly structured throughout region. Question, Terry. So we all heard that particular blast because of that? Answer. No. Each zone received similar EM profile, thus one particularly heavily charged event in each zone. What is an EM profile? Remember, this is 1995, guys. So we know what that means now, but again, 1995 here. electromagnetic. So think about 1995. Like, I'm trying to think. So when I was a little girl, we had the phone with a cord, that you had the cord and you can twirl it. And I can't remember when cordless phones, it was around this time, I think cordless phones were invented. I remember that was so cool. We had a cordless phone. So just think back to 1995. Some of you might not have been born yet. I think the 90s were one of the last great decades, honestly. Like, I kind of want to go back to 1995. By 1995, I think the internet was kind of a whisper. Some people may have had the internet. I don't think, I'm trying to think when we got the internet. I remember like AOL and like having a big family computer in the living room, and it would make the crazy noise when you would sign on. But even my first year of college, the my teachers were very skeptical of citing internet sources because it couldn't be trusted. Like, honestly, you guys, I'm at that weird generation. I'm a Zennial, so anybody born between 1980 and 1984 is considered, we're a sub-generation called Zennials, because our early childhood was very much Generation X, but then our later life became millennial. And so we're kind of both millennial and Gen X. And I think that 4 years, my little generation, we're probably, like, I remember taking computer classes like in high school, and it was more about typing, how to write business letters. It was nothing about the internet. So I think my little generation, my sub-generation, like, we never really were taught the internet. So like for me, I don't even know how to do a bibliography based on the internet. I know how to do one based on like books in the library. I still remember the Dewey Decimal System and how to find books, but I was never taught, because by the time I got out of college, then the internet was becoming big, but you still were bound by libraries, if that makes sense. So especially, sorry guys, I have to turn that off. Especially with the younger generation that's here, some of the questions that they're going to ask might seem kind of silly and 30 years later, but in 1995, electromagnetic might not have been a word that was really used that often. I mean, this, again, I kind of miss these. I got my first cell phone. I was 17 when I got my first cell phone. So how old? That was like 2000, 1999. Yeah, I turned 16 in 1999. I remember my dad, who was a veterinarian. So when he was on call, he would have like a car phone, like the Velcro box with the cord and the phone. And then my parents got me when I was 17 years old. They got me one of those little Nokia phones. I mean, they were like bricks. But I was not allowed to like tell my friends my phone number or use it. It was strictly to be it strictly lived in my glove compartment of my car. And it was only for emergencies, like if I had an accident, to call to you. So it was not that phone. You had to buy minutes. So it wasn't used like we use our phones today, right? It was literally for emergency. It was a car phone. And so my friends would still call. My sister and I had our children's line. Like my parents had 2 phone lines. And that was because my father would be on call. And so like back in our area where my sister and I, where our bedrooms were, where the phones were, they set up 2 separate lines, because I remember this like it was yesterday. After 11 o'clock, so my father had a beeper like most doctors did back then. When he was on call after 11 p.m., the call service would call the house, not beep him, to wake him up if there was an emergency. And so with my sister and me, we're kids, having the phone ringing at 1 o'clock in the morning when you're a child and waking you up, it's not good. So my parents had a separate phone line for our part of the house. That my friends had that number. That was a kid's line. It's just really for the emergency. And then of course, when we got the internet, that line was also used to connect to the internet, because you had to connect the phone line to the internet. I mean, this is the dark ages for my young people watching. This is the dark ages, but I kind of miss that time, because you weren't, when you were home, right? You didn't have social media. You went and played outside, and so with that, long story short, with that being said, although I've got some oldies, some people around my age or older than me, I would love to hear if you have any funny stories about when you first got your cell phone, or like how that felt, when I mean, I don't even have a landline here. We just have our cell phones, that's it. So, all right. So I'd love to hear your stories if you care to share them in the comment section below. Question, Laura, was there any particular significance to this type of blast, since it's not something any of us has experienced in our immediate memory? Is there any implications to the blast in terms of fourth density activity? You have, and yes, as always. So that's interesting. So sometimes something happens to us, and in that moment, our nervous system reacts, but memories fade. And what was something really big at the time becomes not so big over time. And so basically they're saying, yeah, you've experienced thunder like this before. And yes, everything right now, especially in the 90s onward, is gearing towards the transition into fourth density, including the weather. Laura, since this was such a boomer, what exactly was going on in fourth density that produced a boomer like this? Overlapping density lasting approximately 1.3 seconds. As you measure in time, i.e. for 1.3 seconds, you lived completely in fourth density. So that's the crossover, right? Terry, so this was a significant event for us to have noticed. Answer, the noticing was more significant than the event. The awakening. Now you're starting to look at things differently is what they're saying. And that's important. Question V, can I ask, so every time there is, am I wrong in assuming that every time there is a thunder, there is a mix of fourth density? Laura intervenes, no. V, it's just this one time. T, what if you didn't notice? I didn't hear it. T, was that the answer? Laura intervenes. The noticing was more important the event than T intervenes, so it was important that we were aware that something had happened. You did it in another level of consciousness. So there was nothing really special about the thunder. It's just their consciousness became aware of something different. Laura, did this event have anything to do with a redacted experience this morning of being awakened by a rustling in her room and thinking that she had heard a squeaky voice calling her name? I've had that happen to me before. I thought it was damn crazy. I thought I heard my name and there was nothing in the room. Answer, yes. Laura, okay, what was it that she experienced? Answer, fourth density resident. Laura, what kind of fourth density resident was this? Om. And I looked this up, guys. So this is not the Om of yoga. And we see that a lot, like with the raw material. It's not the Ra of Egypt. The Om of yoga is spelled A-U-M. Anyway, it's spelled differently. So I don't know if they mean Om or O-M, but that's kind of the name of this resident. And usually with fourth density intervening, it's usually the negative. Very rarely is it the positive side of fourth density, because the positive side of fourth density, the service to others, they don't want to intervene on our free will. And that's true for like all positive beings. They never want to interrupt our karma or intervene and stop our free will. So they only really come when truly asked for them and they feel they can step in. Sometimes you ask for them and they don't step in because they don't, again, they know the situation, they know how the situation is going to play out, and they don't want to mess with your free will. So Laura, so this is a fourth density service to self, basically, I can already tell you. So who is Om? V, is that its name? Is the Om the type of being? Type, what is a type of Om that you would rather not know? No, I would rather know. If something is going to be visiting my daughter in her bedroom, so A redacted is obviously Laura's daughter, I definitely want to know who or what it is. Answer, and who says this will be a regular event? And again, I want it for the people who miss that. Om in yoga, the Om of yoga is spelled A-U-M, or is symbolized by the number 3 with a little offshoot. So not spelled O-M, okay? Different thing. Veronica said, so in other words, it is not going to happen all the time. Don't worry about it. Is that right? Yes. It was just this one time? Yes. Was there a reason A redacted was aware of was the reason A redacted was so aware of this is because she is physically open when she is asleep? Answer, yes. Is there anything she needs to do to control her psychic openness in order to not be harmed? Why control something beneficial? Well, it's just that Laura was concerned because, and then T interjects, is this something that we all encounter every now and again? Answer, 3 of you have, no, make that 5. And she gives all the names that they've all experienced this. The thumps that I hear in my house, this is not my grandmother. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Are these visitors? Answer, yes. What can you tell me about that? What do you want to know? Are these Cassiopeans? Answer, we do not thump. Laughter. Laura, what is causing the thumping phenomenon in D redacted's house? Fifth and fourth visitors of varying descriptions, your many activities have attracted. Again, everything's about choice. So the things we do attracts entities. Are they harmful? My many activities like readings, psychic readings, Laura interjects, no, stop. Are these beings in general service to self or service to others oriented? Service to self. Laura says, so varying activities, D redacteds, have attached them. What initial activities did D redacted do that open the doorway for this type of activity? Answer, networking. Networking with who or what? Her recent contacts. With who or what? People. Who specifically? Are we talking about E redacted page? That is the one. And so now they're going to give some names that are redacted. So M redacted, T redacted, yes. J redacted, H redacted, yes. Laura and Frank, no. So Laura and Frank have not brought on the negative entities. P redacted, K redacted, no. Anyone from the church, yes. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think there's a lot of negative attachments you pick up in a church. B question mark, no. DW, yes. Did it start with my association with D redacted, W redacted? Yes. Was that the first time? Yes. How can I stop these visits? Answer, complicated. Where do I start? What is the first step? Laura interjects. Well, you have an EM opening, closing, that would be the first step. You have already begun. So he's already begun the process of closing it. And probably I would guess because he's asking. So he's gaining knowledge, right? Question, with reading, Terry, by asking, yes. What is the next step? This is not a step-by-step process. Laura says, is it that she is going to have knowledge and awareness? The light is knowledge, which is protected. So you have to be very careful with who you're hanging out with because, and I'm not saying, what I get from that is I don't think those people realize they're maybe opening up doorways to negative entities to come in, but if they're like bringing you negative greetings or being used, which we talked about negative readings with Catherine over on her channel. We can do more about that in the future. I actually have that on the list of things to talk about. So yeah, you just have to be very careful, don't you? You have to, I mean, I think there's a lot of fourth density negative entrapments in the truther community. I think people that watch a lot of these fake truthers that lie to you, blow smoke up your ass and tell you things you want to hear, that feeds the ego, which is feeding Lizzie's. You have to be very careful. Everything you do is a choice that's made, and this is the polarity of choice, and so it all has consequences. All right, Laura says, I guess that means that you need to visualize light around yourself in your house. D interjects, I guess some sage and holy water. Laura, no rituals, knowledge. And they say that a lot. Don't worry about the rituals, just gain the knowledge. Don't worry about the rituals, gain the knowledge, the power of the mind only. If she stops associating with P redacted and group, will this be a good step in the right direction? Answer, we do not condone recommendations for friendships and associations. That is free will. Laura, so they're not going to tell you who to associate with. It is your choice. But know that you have the knowledge. You can make informed decisions. D interjects, well, there is no choice. That is it. Answer, up to you. Question, Laura, I would like to bring up before we get sidetracked that we have Tom with us this evening. And hi, obviously, Tom, it's T redacted. So they're saying hi. Laura, T redacted has a couple of questions he would like to ask about moving in his direction in life. This will be brief, so I'll let him ask his questions. Answer, now you're beginning to see what happens when you let emotions take over. T redacted, we warned you in a subtle way. T redacted, what do I need to do to get myself back on track on a spiritual path? We were talking directly to you with the last two answers. Did you get some kind of warning? Do you remember? T redacted, so obviously that's another person from the original T. They both have T names. No, I don't remember that warning. Okay, now think carefully. Excess memories of first day of a union. Are you talking about my relationship with A redacted? We were being discreet. So I've told you guys so many times in so many videos, you have to be very, very, very careful with the hokey pokey. I can't say shmeshable stuff. We're on YouTube. We have to be careful what we say. You can't be going and like, that's brahmacharya in Sanskrit. You have to be careful with who you hokey pokey with. You are sharing karma. This is an energetic contract that you are making with somebody when you boink them. This is why anybody in this, I've said this before and I'll say it again because it bears repeating. To me, a huge red flag. Of course, you do you, boo. But if I'm going to a spiritual healer or a spiritual teacher and I know that they're in an open relationship, I won't go to that person. Because anybody who has any knowledge whatsoever, baseline kindergarten level knowledge of spirituality, knows that when you hokey pokey with people, you're sharing karma with that person energetically to become one, literally in that moment. And that can be very, very powerful when you're both in alignment. But if you're not in alignment with the other person, it can be a disaster and things can start to happen because you're inner. It's like witchcraft, right? It can be used for good or bad. It's powerful. But if you're like in an open relation and you're hokey pokeying, you're going to the prom with lots of people, then that is a shit show I want no part of karmically. I came here to release karma, not pick up more. So if you, I beg you, if you are somebody that is in an open relationship, I would really ask you to consider how dangerous that is spiritually. Not just physically. I mean, the physical manifests from the spiritual. I mean, where do you think you get all these diseases from, right? Like, I can't say what they are, but we know what I'm saying. Like, that's a manifestation of the spiritual, right? Like, you got to be careful. Have more self-respect. Please have more self-respect. And when you break up with somebody, your relationship's in, I always say you need to go at least 6 months celibate just to flush that out so that when someone new comes in, it's not messing with you or messing with them. It's a new commitment. It's a new merging of karma. So they're warning him now. He had obviously had a relationship with someone, and the first day of the union is when stuff happened energetically to him. So just be careful with who you're going to prom with, we'll say. Be careful. Question. Laura, you blabbed it out. They were being discreet. Did you get some kind of warning? V intervenes. Did you get any gut feelings? Laura says, have you not learned that your relationship is taking you away from your spiritual path? D says, did she ask you to give up anything? V says, did the relationship make you feel uncomfortable? D says, did it give you negative thoughts about spirituality? Answer. Cassiopeans intervene. Let T redacted figure it out. This is rather in private nature. It should stay private, right? Like, that's kind of the beauty of it when you're in a healthy relationship. So obviously unhealthy, different story. But if you're in a healthy relationship, like my boyfriend is my best friend. Like, we do everything together. We go on adventures together. But he's also the one person in this world who sees me naked all the time. Not even in that sense, but just like changing. Like, it's, your partner should be like your partner in everything. It's private. And that's what makes it special. That's what makes our relationship different than like his guy best friend or my girl. But, because we have that intimacy with each other. And it's private. It's not shared with anybody else. And that's the healthy form of the hokey pokey, of going to prom, is when it is private and it's just between two people and nobody else is involved. Yeah. Okay, question. T. Okay, well, I'm thinking of answer. T redacted has a tendency to be rebellious and secretive. Well, we all can be a little rebellious. And secretive, we're all allowed to have privacy, right? Okay, Jay says, well, that's not such a bad combination. T says, yeah, I'm working on that. V says, we all have our crosses to bear. L says, Tom now has a plan where he is going to ... His relationship has led to other situations that have caused unpleasantness in his life. He is now going to travel halfway across the country to escape this. Answer, repeating syndrome. I was about to say, no matter where you go, there you are. No matter where you go, there you are. And that's kind of a good thing. Like, think about that. His relationship has led to other situations that have caused unpleasantness in his life. Like, what relationships in your life lead to unpleasantness? Even if it is karmic, then obviously if you're not dealing with it, then it's karma that's still going to repeat itself. But in order to deal with it, you can't run from it. You have to fix yourself. Like, why are you attracting this? Because no matter where you go, there you are. If he just runs away geographically from the problem, and back in the 90s, kids, back in the 90s, there was no social media, so you could run away. It was easier to run away. But he's going to just attract the same type of people. He's just going to be repeating the same problems, but with different people. He gets it. Tom gets it. If you want to move to the other side of the country, okay. But wherever you go, there you are. You still got to work on yourself, right? All right. Laura says the scenery may change, but you will be the same with the same problem until you change yourself. Absolutely. Is it really because I know I can support myself better out there and I know that we can support ourselves better out there? Answer, how do you know that? Because I have checked with papers. I have looked at what is out there. There are more jobs out there. There are more apartments, more opportunity, better chance to get really ahead. Laura, who are you trying to convince? Answer, really? Multiple question marks. Question T, it just feels like a time for a change. Answer, you have felt that way often before. So when she feels that niggling for a change, I think what they're saying is it's not about change. It's that's your gut telling you. It's not about changing your locations, but changing yourself. That's what that gut feeling is telling you. Okay, T, let me ask this. Could I have some kind of place out there, do something that needs to be done out there? Answer, many have lived under the illusion that relocation improves destiny. All have failed. Relocation changes nothing if you're not willing to change yourself. Laura, if you can't conceive where you are, you probably won't. Okay. I'm still thinking about the hokey pokey. Okay, if you can't succeed where you are, you probably won't succeed anywhere else. Jay intervenes, you also carry yourself with you wherever you go. If you are what's wrong, moving doesn't change that. Laura says, and in fact, it makes things worse. T says, yeah, you lose a lot because you lose your connections and contacts, your support system, your network, everything. Again, yeah, kids, this was the 90s. I mean, you can call on the landline your family, but you can't just like text them. You really do lose those people when you leave that area. T, well, part of it is I just want to go. Laura, maybe wanting to go is part of your problem. J, are you running away? T, no. Laura, is T redacted running away? Answer, yes. Yes, it's okay to want to go on an adventure, but at least you understand it's what going on an adventure, traveling, moving, it's not going to fix your problems, though. You have to fix your problems. Question, Laura, is there anything you can tell T redacted? Answer, the community he is considering is much more third density. It's not metaphysically oriented. Laura, in other words, if he moves, he will get more in the soup. Breaks for discussion. T redacted thinks he can make it work. Comments, please. Answer, well, this plan is related to and contingent on shaky emotional consideration. His relationship is unstable, and that is at the root of the issue. Question T, what do I have to do to make this relationship stable? V intervenes. Oh, the youngsters, we are going to make this square peg fit into this round hole no matter what. Answer, open. Question T, can you give me a hint as to what I need to do? Laura intervenes. What they are saying is that you can't make this relationship stable. J intervenes. Either it is or it isn't. Answer, let T redacted decide. Question T, let me just ask this. Can I make this relationship stable? Answer, discover, but moving won't accomplish this. So basically, they're not giving him the answer because if they say no, this relationship is never going to be stable, and he just ends the relationship because they said it, he hasn't learned. So they're saying you got to go discover it for yourself. If you can't make, you got to figure this out for yourself. They're hinting at it that this is just a toxic situation. Because even though obviously it's unstable, it does take two to tango. So sometimes in a situation, if one partner is willing to do the work and the other isn't, one partner can't do the healing for both people. It has, and just because a relationship is unstable and it's not working, doesn't mean that both people in the relationship are failures or bad people. It just means that their karma isn't meshing. Remember, as the C says, it's all lessons. It's all lessons. Question T, how can I make this work? Okay. Question T, I know I can make this work, but should I stay here? Answer, better chance of survival of relationship if you remain and work things out. Question T, but her best friend is out there. Answer, friendships are not stable with this one, A redacted. So there's obviously issues with her too. Not just him. And if he does all his work and tries to make it work and she's not doing shit, it's still not going to work. Question. Laura, they are saying Andrea is not capable. They redacted the name and they put the name here. Sorry, Andrea. They are saying Andrea is not capable of a stable friendship and that might extend to relationships. T, can I help her obtain spiritually or a level of enlightenment? Answer, what we told you with the first answer applies. Does not have to be painful. I mean, here's the thing too. Like, yeah, you can help people. That's what I do for a living. I help people all the time. But I can't do it for them. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I can tell you. So he's not going to, this is very much him wanting this girl, obviously, and like is addicted to this girl. He has this illusion of who this girl is. So I think he's trying to think he can do something to like wake her up. You can't wake anybody up. You can give them practices. You can give them the information, but they have to do the work themselves. And they'll only do the work when they're ready. Like if you try to force somebody into the work before they're ready, it's not gonna work. Question D, I have been married twice. The day before I was to marry the man who I thought was wonderful, of course, I was told that no one was going to make me marry him. And if I wanted to, I could change my mind. I had reservations, but I did not feel that I could back out because the wedding was already set. And it turned out to be a very destructive marriage and divorce. So what I'm saying to you is that if everything is not perfect about your mate in terms of your expectations and need, if there's anything that you think you can or have to change about this person, or that involvement with this person will change, you are wrong. You can't change them. They won't change, and the relationship will deteriorate destructively. If you are now asking what you have to do to make it work, it is already on the road to destruction. It is never too late to come to your senses and back out. And there should be an extra O there. Answer, yes. Laura, is there a past life or karmic tie between T redacted and Andrea? As always, it's up to him to discover. He is rebellious and is not listening. We have given him much. Now it is up to him. Laura, is anyone else in this room not rebellious? Chorus, I am. Laura, we have not all learned the hard way. Chorus, I certainly have, yes. V, we have all learned the lessons we see T redacted facing. It's easy for us to sit back and know the end result because we have all been through it before. It's easy for us to tell him to back away and rethink because we've all been forced to do it. But we need to remember how painful it was to us at the time and how we all thought it was the end of the world. Laura interjects, yes. We all thought that the ending destructive relationship was the hardest thing in the world to do. Other people gave us advice when we were younger, like we are advising T redacted now, and we didn't take it. Laura intervenes, but how much easier on us would it have been if we had the wisdom then to do what we see now? Of course, amen. I wonder if Tom's young. I have in my head that Tom is, or I think his name is Tom. I don't know, T redacted and A redacted. Like in my head, they're older. Maybe it's because, like, I think what Laura was in like her late 40s, early 50s when she started doing this. And I guess I assumed everybody around her was the same age. But maybe T redacted is younger. And that's what they're saying. Like he's so young, he still has like this idea of, as they said, forcing a round peg into a square hole. Like that, that he can make it work. He's going to make it work, because love plays tricks on us. But I'm telling you, ladies, if we've got any young ones, I've dated quite a few men. I've lived with quite a few men. The most successful relationship you're going to have is with a man who is doing his own work too. The relationship I'm in now is the most successful relationship I've ever been in. It's not dramatic. It's because he does his own work. I do my own work. We're not looking to each other to complete each other. We both have a sense of self. We're partners. We're equal partners emotionally, mentally. So ladies and young ladies and men, this is a really important conversation about relationships. I know that you when you're are in love with someone and that heartbreak is brutal and it just feels like especially after you've already done the hokey pokey with them or gone to prom with them, we'll say, like that's what I was saying, the karmic ties. So we have to be very careful about who you go to prom with. Take a moment, like when you're starting to date people, like don't just go to prom with them right away. Like take time to really get to know that person and have trust in that person so that when that does happen, when you do go to prom, it's not destructive, but more a force of creation. All right. Answer, real love is not strictly hormonal. I was thinking about that today too, like with my boyfriend and how if you first start dating someone, you're trying to be the best version of yourself, mysterious and sexy and all that kind of stuff. But then when you really get comfortable with and that's fun. That's a fun part, like the honeymoon part. That is fun. Like that is fun to kind of feel the butterflies and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of nice when you get past that. And I'm not saying I always try to look nice for my boyfriend now, but when you live with somebody, you see all of them, when you're sick, when he's in the bathroom for a while, I know what he's doing, I know what he's in there doing. There's no, but you're, when my stomach's having problems or his stuff, we talk to each other about it because love is deeper than the hormonal stuff has already passed. Right. And it's really loving each other and wanting to support each other. And that brings on a different type of connection. And so you want to be with a person that you can let your hair down with, that you can feel vulnerable with, that you can cry with. And this might be TMI, but when I'm PMSing, my boobs get really sore, really sore. And my boyfriend will literally massage them for me. It's not sensual. It's not going to prom. It's just literally, he's trying to relieve them of pain. Be with someone who will do that for you, ladies, and not turn it into anything like going to prom, but it's just because they know you're uncomfortable and they want to help you relieve that pain. And you trust them to do that. So, yeah. But again, I was in my head, Tom was older, and Tom might be older. Some people, it takes a while to learn this lesson, right? So for some people, they just don't, their hormones take over and they can't get past that. But Tom might be young, or T redacted might be young. I don't know. All right, question T. So what they are saying is that I can make this work here, but I can't make it work out there. Laura, no, T redacted. The chances are not good either way. But you have something of a chance here with a good support system and your metaphysical network. There, it is certain to fail, and then you will be in an emotional turmoil, probably broke and stuck far away from everybody. V intervenes. There is not a pat answer on your relationship. They just said if you stay here, it has a better chance. They didn't say that if you stay, you definitely will succeed. And if you are seeking spirituality right now, it's definitely a bad move to make. Answer, yes. Question Jay, going back to the event of this morning, when Jay redacted related his experiences to me, he said that when he opened his eyes, that the light looked yellow. V intervenes. I noticed the discoloration too. J intervenes. Was that related to the event? Answer, yes. What caused the light to change color? Leftover fourth density effects. Laura, is this something that is going to be happening more and more as we move to fourth density? Yes. Laura, is this electromagnetic charging of the atmosphere? Laura, is this electromagnetic charging of the atmosphere? I'm assuming that it is what it is, and that it is occurring as part of the shifting of densities. Answer, yes. Laura, if an electromagnetic charging of the atmosphere, let me do that again. Laura, if it is an electromagnetic charging of the atmosphere, is this charging coming about because this oncoming wave and effects that we are beginning to feel more and more of, are they part of the wave, its presence, or its approach? Answer, it's all a buildup similar to the early effects preceding the arrival of a sea wave. So we talked about the sucking in and coming out, and that wave that's coming is the transition to fourth density. Question T. Are the extremely high winds they have been experiencing in North Carolina and California and the earthquakes in Japan are related to this? Answer, yes. Again, guys, this was 1995. Question T, yes, the media is playing that down. 140-mile-an-hour winds up in Californias and up in the Carolinas and out in California, they are hitting 160 miles an hour. Laura says, well, they told us we were going to have really weird weather. T says there was another earthquake in Japan today. This has been ongoing for the last couple of weeks. Japan is supposed to go. V intervenes. Sylvia Brown was on a talk show. Sylvia Brown is known as a highly aware psychic. How do you feel about her psychic abilities? Okay. V, she said that there was going to be a big earthquake in Alaska, a huge one. What can you tell us about this? Answer, one of the many events of buildup lasting years as you measure time. So again, they're expecting this changeover to happen right away. We're now in 2025. We're still in it. We're still in it. So they're saying, like, don't expect this to happen tomorrow. Like, this is going to be a prolonged period of time. Question V, that's interesting because I followed Sylvia Brown for a number of years. Let me ask this. I got a letter from Pierce A, and he was giving me the big poo-poo and answer. Pierce is misguided. I don't know who Pierce A is, obviously a friend of hers. Question, Laura, well, my question about this, in addition to the really revolting letter I got from that creep on the network, my feeling about this is I really want these people to open their eyes. Will they? Those who will. I like that. Those who will. Question, Terry. Look at it this way. You have an open enough mind to allow those who have their minds closed to be kept closed. I like that. I like that. Look at it this way. You have to have an open enough mind to allow those who have their minds closed to keep them closed. You have tried. Don't take it any further. Laura, you guys said that we were going to have a whole big bodacious, I was like, I haven't heard that word in a long time. Bodacious bunch more of UFO activity this year. Is this correct? 1995, bingo. Laura, and I guess it has already started because some guy in Michigan filmed a UFO in broad daylight and they showed it on the news 3 days in a row. And I don't think they were being snide in their comments. Frank intervenes. Well, yes, they were. I saw it on channel 13 and they were being definitely snide. T says, and those guys lost their network affiliation too. Laura, that fella in Michigan, could you identify that craft for us and who belonged to it? Answer, it was the Greys. Laura, now are the Greys going to allow themselves to be seen more and more in third density in the upcoming years? Answer, yes. Laura, is there a reason behind this exposure? Answer, all of these events are related to that which you are now familiar. Laura, this is part of their movement to land on the planet, interact with human beings, say via the media. T intervenes, they are already landing on the planet. Answer, no, for all is related to approach of oncoming wave. What the details are will remain to be seen. Question, Laura. By the way, T redacted, your information about the bases in Appalachian happens to be confirmed. T redacted, are there military bases in the Appalachian Mountains? Answer, yes. Laura, hidden ones? Yes, we know that now. This was 1995, so that's pretty groundbreaking news for 1995. Are they for the subjugation of the USA when they start implementing the first stages of the schmorder? The schmord order, we'll say, in this country remains to be seen. Laura, do they actually have buildings or places set up in this country to be crematoriums and labor camps, as I have read about in several articles? Yes. When do they intend to initiate this plan? Open. T, last I heard was March 1995. Well, obviously didn't happen in March 1995 because here we are 30 years later. I think we came close in 2020. Came very close, but no. V, goodness gracious. Laura, I've been saying for years now after doing the charts that 1995 is going to be one strange year. A lot of other people are saying that too. There's supposed to be something big organization fall. If we sat here and visualized a clock vortex of light energy, would it greatly enhance the energy flow? Not necessary any longer. Now I want to go back to this because again, in 1995, I was 12. So all I remember about 1995 is being in the 6th grade and having my appendix taken out. So I guess you could say 1995 was a big year for me because I had my appendix taken out. For people who were older in 1995, it could have been a strange year. Very much so. But do you remember anything super strange? And again, remember, as we've seen in 2020, as people, all of us, we think that tomorrow it's gonna, there's gonna be all these arrests and 10 days of darkness, all that kind of stuff. We keep thinking that's happening tomorrow. Well, imagine these people who've been awake since 1995. So we see their eagerness, but looking back on this 30 years later, we know that for us, they still got a ways to go. For a soul, 30 years in our time is nothing. It's a blink of an eye. So, but I would like to know if 1995 was a peculiar year. Okay, question V. Last night, all of a sudden, I got a flash to do a tarot reading. Now, I haven't done this in months because I know it's not super clear channel, but I had the overwhelming feeling that it was okay to do this. Was the reading I did for myself last night as valid and factual and true reading? If you wish it to be. They're not super big on tarot cards. They've actually even said in one of the readings, they said that tarot cards are for people who don't have psychic abilities. Okay, well, I was hoping with reading that I was drawing on your energy, was I? You do not cards. I think that they meant to type in, you do not need cards to draw on our energy. Your strong feeling was to mediate for information. You misinterpreted it as a need for tarot. Cards can confuse. Meditation never does. Well, they were nice cards, and I threw a spread this morning that it was beautiful. The last card was the moon card. In my perception of that card, I haven't been able to signify whether that meant psychic energy or deception. What was the meaning with my perception? We have given enough personal data for this session. Question T, what is a good way to meditate, the way that feels effortless for you? Okay, if we are getting off on personal stuff here and moving on to more generalized, I would like to know there is a common knowledge kind of thing among metaphysical people that when a soul is born onto the planet, that soul, that little baby, has infinite knowledge. And as we grow and we learn, we are conditioned to lose our knowledge. Is that true? No. No. Laura, how could a baby have infinite knowledge? It only has imprints of its past life experiences. You have heard that also? Answer, that is nonsense. That's fine. I'm sure you've heard that. Souls are not born into this planet. Souls were never born and will never die. Question, I understand. My question was loose. I'm sorry. D, are there any new souls being created? Just answer if you use your head. Diana does not know the real concept of time. So D redacted as Diana. So souls are they're not being created because they're part linear time, birth, life, death, beginning, middle, end is part of their density understanding. So souls are never created. We just always existed. Question D. Well, that concept is very difficult for me, Laura. Well, for everyone, we can talk about it and play with it, but there really is no time. It's an illusion. It's a lie. T, it's part of the third density world we have created. D, I'm trying real hard. F, okay, let me give you an example. Take yourself off the planet. Take yourself farther away so that you can't see the sun anymore except at a speck. D, okay, I'm there. F, now you're floating out there in space. There is no direction. Everything is just out from you. There is no up or down or sideways, nothing. You see stars every way you look, but there is no point of orientation. Now, being no longer on the planet, the sun doesn't rise and the sun doesn't set. You have no watch or clock. How do you know what was before and what was after? T, have you ever heard of people who go down into caves and do research experiments and they come out thinking that only 45 days have passed when it really has been 65 or 100 because time slows down and virtually stops? Time is a human concept. F, I read the book about Barbara Mackle abduction. She was kidnapped by a guy who put her into an underground coffin with gadgets to help her survive, and she was buried. She thought when she was pulled out 83 hours later, she thought she had only been in there one night. Let me ask this question. In a state where there is no artificial consideration, such as a deviation of night and day, in such state, what would be the natural cycle of a human physical body in terms of, say, sleeping and eating? And refer this back to our concept of times. In other words, how long would we naturally stay awake? And then how long would we naturally sleep if we were not constrained by artificial time references in a general sense? Answer, your entire existence would be radically different and would not cycle in the same ways at all. Laura, can you tell us how it would? Can you tell us how it would? Answer, it depends on the environment. Laura, we are so interactive with our environment that we almost can't separate ourselves from it. Is that what you were saying? Answer, close. Laura, if our solar system motion was such that, according to our present time delineations, we had 48 hours of daylight and 48 hours of night, would there be a concomitant extension of life in the same terms? Maybe. Laura, Sachin has an interesting idea about his theorized planet Nibiru, that their solar year is 3,600 of our years, and therefore for every 1 year of their life, 3,600 years pass on Earth, and therefore a being who theoretically was on such a planet, one with a 3,600-year orbit, would live many multiple thousands of years. This is a valid concept insofar as it goes. That is a confused cross-conceptualization. Now, is that confusion as I presented it, or confused as in Sachin theorized it? It's the whole gang. They get really stuck on time sometimes in these, and that's something that I've studied a lot with yoga, and it's just like, bro, we get it. Like time, linear time is literally just third density. We don't really need to understand it beyond third density because we're in third density now. That's all we have to understand. Just understand that it's different in different densities, and once we get there, we'll experience that. I don't get so I don't know why they're so obsessed with this. Anyway, okay. Question T. We have to remember that time is only relative to Earth, and it came about the way it is now only because of mathematics based on base 10 counting system. If you go to the moon, time is not reflected in the same way if you have to measure it as it is here. We use Earth time on the moon. If we were to go to Mars, Mars time would be different. It's all based on rotation and orbit, which is only one way of doing it. As an example, not exactly having to do with time, but the idea of pi, 3.1416 on the SETI program, they send out pi on a radio program saying intelligent life will understand pi because pi is a basic idea in circular mathematics. Like literally when we start talking about science and mathematics, I get the wah, wah, wah from the Peanuts in my head, Charlie Brown. You have to be able to figure out pi in order to calculate circumference and diameter. And so in circular circles and arcs. So I ask, what is the good of sending out pi in base 10 when, say, the Greys only have 8 digits on their fingers? What is pi in base 10? Base 8? 3.1416 means absolutely nothing to someone who is working in another system base. Greys are cybergenetic beings, therefore they use mathematics they are programmed to use. Question, you all missed the point. I understand that the Greys are. No, we did not. Why do you look up when talking to us? Well, where should we look? Anywhere. Okay, now the Greys are programmed to use mathematics. I'm assuming that they are programmed to use the mathematics of the lizard beings, their creators. Is that correct? Variable. Also, something I want to say about that, my way from pointing this out, when people go to space and our bodies are made for third density. So when people stay in space for too long, they often come back deformed. So again, I'm telling you, like, we know time as we know it isn't correct, that it's illusionary. However, it is necessary for this existence. And I feel like once we get into fourth density, we'll be presented with a new idea of time, and it will work there for us. We'll get it because we'll be in a different type of environment to understand it. Laura, well, the question I'm trying to get at here, what base do the lizards use? The lizards have a form of mathematics you would not even begin to understand. That makes sense. Why are we trying to teach calculus to a kindergartner? That's the way I see it. Why are we trying to teach calculus to a kindergartner? We're kindergartners when it comes to understanding time and how it works in mathematics in other countries. And there's no sense in trying to teach calculus to a kindergartner. We got to we got to cut the shapes and color the coloring books right now and do the show and tells. Like this is where we are. We're not there. We're here. We'll get there when it's time. Question, Laura. Well, I would imagine so. Now, if a line is defined as the movement of a point in a single direction, and a plane is defined as a line moving at the right angle to itself, and the third dimension is defined as a plane moving at right angles to itself, and the fourth dimension is defined as three-dimensional object moving at right angles to itself, then what are we talking about in fourth density? Something that we simply cannot grasp? If we look at a 3D apple, we are only seeing a slice, so to speak, of a fourth density object. If we could see the apple in its true fourth dimensional state, we would see something probably more like a long, red, tubular type thing that goes into infinity. Is that a correct assessment? Answer, close. Question T, and then there's the fifth and sixth and seventh density levels. The whole point is just to demonstrate that time doesn't exist and is irrelevant. It could be defined in any other countless numbers of ways. Answer, yes. Question, Laura, look at the Mayans. They counted in base 20. T says, once you remove all references to time, it slows down and eventually stops. J says, yes, look at what happened to those who are in sensory deprivation chambers. T, exactly. Laura, an imploding infinity, so to speak. Answer, and if you were out in space, you might sleep for thousands of years or remain awake for millions of years. Question T, this refers back to Frank's explanation of floating in space along with how time might be perceived without reference points. Answer, it really does not matter because you would not be under the same illusion that time even exists. Exactly. Like this is just, to me, this is a waste of time talking about time. You guys might be finding this entertaining, but to me, this is just a waste of time. Literally, I didn't mean to make that pun, but yeah, it's just a waste because we're not supposed to understand it right now. Question, Laura. Let me ask this. I'm kind of drifting into another subject, but we were talking about being in space. We talked at one point, I believe, of the matrix of the various planets and our perceptions of the planets in our solar system, and these matrices being almost like a doorway to another density. And that if we are in a proper dimensional mode, that we would see the other planets of our own solar system quite differently from how we see them in our third density mode, and that we would, in fact, be able to look upon Venus, which manifests in third density, as a pretty hellish place with temperatures 900 degrees or thereabouts, and we would find it to be something else altogether with beings inhabiting it. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Beings live absolutely everywhere in one realm or another. Question, Laura, are the beings who live on the planet Venus aware of us on planet Earth? Answer, yes. Question, Laura, are there beings also living on Mars? Answer, yes. Laura, are they aware of us? Answer, yes. Are the beings on the other planets in our solar system aware of us on planet Earth? Yes, because they are all of higher density. Question, Laura, why is it that Earth seems to be the lower density planet and we seem to be kind of left out in the cold, so to speak? They know of us, but we can't perceive them. Why is this? Why are we singled out for this? Was Earth created after all the others? No, no, and no. T, are they interacting with us? Answer, okay, stop, whoa. A review session follows. Who is first density? Laura, rocks and minerals, right? And Laura, plants. Answer, yes. Now, what awareness do you suppose they have of you? Laura, what awareness do rocks and plants have of us? Oh, dear God. V says that's an interesting way to put it. An excellent example. T, when we ask why higher beings have awareness of us, but we are not aware of them, we need to ask what awareness beings lower than us have of us. J, obviously no more than we have of fourth density. T, but when you play music to a plant, it has some awareness because it makes it grow. Laura, but music is not a being. T, it's an energy wave. J, wait a minute. What they are saying is that they have no more awareness of us than we as third density beings have of a fourth density being. Does this mean that they interact with us the way that we interact with plants? Answer, who is on second level? Animals, insects, lower life form. Now think carefully. What level of awareness and, more importantly, understanding do they have of you? Well, I guess they are aware of us in some way, but they don't understand us. Some do at some point. They understand us to a certain extent, Frank, but their understanding is entirely different from our understanding of them. In other words, they see these big hulking beings, but they don't know what's going on. Laura, was Ouspensky's explanation of how animals perceive humans very close to the truth? Close. Now, what about first level understanding the perception of second level? Laura, okay, first density, minerals and plants. Now, rocks and minerals combine with plants through growing actions, water dissolution, erosion, and so on. They have a real limited existence. And what happens is that mostly animals come along and eat them. Frank, bees pollinate flowers. Different kinds of animals live in trees. T, some animals live in the ground and in caves. T, so rocks and minerals and plants have a really limited understanding of the animals above them, which interact with them in various ways. Answer, yes, and you have a limited understanding of the densities above you. Question, Laura. Well, that is all still begging the question. My question was, T intervenes. As an example, today we are all experiencing something we call thunder, but we were all aware that it was something more. Something happened in fourth density and we experienced it in a certain way, and it was a limited understanding of that level. Answer, Laura, unblock. Do rocks and plants see you? Question, J, probably not. D, we don't really know. T, we see the third density manifestations of first density object. We don't see the first density perception of itself. So how do we see the fourth density manifestation? They see us on a fourth density level, not necessarily as we perceive ourselves. Tom, you are making rapid progress. Laura, better watch her butt. Laughter. Question V. So I am curious, what do rocks look like to each other? Laura, let's ask, what do rocks see when they look at each other? Answer, they sense each other. Question, Laura, what example of our sensory apparatus would be close to an example of what a rock senses when it's aware of another rock? Answer, that is a cross-conceptualization and will not work. Question, Laura, so there is no way we can interpret what a rock senses. Well, another first density example is plants. We know that plants can react positively to certain persons and negatively to others. They have experimented with hooking them up to polygraph machines and measuring their responses. J, they also react to music. T, third density reactions. Answer, yes. Question, Laura, if a plant interacts with each other, do they feel safe fondness for each other? Answer, something akin to that. Question, Laura, does it hurt a plant when we eat it? Answer, does it hurt you when a Lizzie eats you? Question T, yes, you see on a fourth density, we are all in third density and we eat first and second density. The fourth density eats us. D, if we hurt plants by eating them like the Lizzies hurt us when they eat us, how are we to survive without eating? Answer, when you no longer crave physicality, you no longer need to eat. Question, Laura. So part of the fall into this physical existence and part of the Adonic story of the whole business, you shall eat by the sweat of your brow, has to do with being in physical and needing to eat. Answer, Lucifer, the fallen angel, that is you. We're the fallen angels, guys. We're the ones that fell down into this existence. We're Lucifer. That's what the seas have said. We created this. The fallen angels aren't the Nephilim. They're not some far off being that we're not aware of. It's us. We're the problem. Isn't there a Taylor Swift song? Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. We're the problem. We're the fallen angels. It's us. Laura, so falling means going into physical existence wherein you must feed off each other, life, other beings. Is that it? Yes. Question, when plants feed on first level beings such as rocks and water and so forth, do the first density beings feel pain? Answer, this is redundant. We have already covered this. So when a plant absorbs nutrients, well, plant is the same density as a mineral. So it's almost like the two separate entities becoming one. Like Jeffrey Dahmer, laughter. Laura, my baloney has a first name. I remember that commercial. I remember that commercial. LM, minerals dissolve in water and are then absorbed by plant. What pain could there be in this? Answer, subjective. Question, maybe the dissolution of, say, phosphate in the water is a death to it. Answer, close. You limit when you perceive on third level only and think that your perception is all there is. Question, Laura. So in other words, we should be able to perceive on first and second as well as third while working on fourth level understanding. No, work on fourth, fifth, and sixth. Question, Laura. It is not also beneficial to understand that first and second density levels as well, just simply for the exercise in understanding that which is below us? Strive always to rise. Question B, haven't we already done our first and second level work as evolving souls? Answer, yes. V, so there's no reason to step back. Who eats the Lizzies on fourth level? Answer, no one. Fourth is the last density for full manifestation of service to self. Question T, so beings on the fifth and sixth level exist in pure energy? Answer, yes. Question, the fourth level is the last for full service to self. Does that mean that the fifth level, which you have described as the contemplated level, what is the state of existence for a service to self being on the fifth level? Souls of 1, 2, 3, and 4 go to fifth. So the fifth level is where they go while waiting to go back to one of the four or for their next incarnation. Exactly. Question. That is why it's called the contemplation level. You go and think about what you have done. What about the souls on sixth density? Are there sixth density service to self beings? No, when you get to sixth, you no longer need to recycle. Laura, but still, is there a service to self experience at sixth density, like the sixth density Orions? They're only reflections of individuals, not unified entities. These reflections exist for balance. They are not whole entities, just thought forms. Question, Laura, are these sixth density beings that the Bible describes as a gathering of angels, as in the story of Job where Lucifer came in before the Lord? Answer, yes. So there are service to self and service to others at sixth density, which balance, and they are just there. They exist. Reflection for balance. Is there any kind of hierarchy to these things? Do these beings come before some kind of grand council and make plans and discuss things and make decisions and implement them? Answer, no. Question. Well, how do things happen? Do things just sort of happen as natural interactions of things and energies? Answer, yes. Question B, if we are on third density and you are working with us and we are striving to make fourth density at the same time you are at sixth density, striving to reach seventh? Answer, yes. Question, is helping us helping you to reach seventh density? Are there others at higher densities working with you as you are working with us? No, we all reach seventh level together. So in other words, you guys are trying to bring us up and everybody else is coming up. And when all places are back together, then we go to seventh. Is that it? Yes. So that is your purpose in helping us. It's a natural process. Will our function be, when we are at sixth density, to help others at third, as you were doing? Yes, we are you in the future. Then more than 50% of the souls reach sixth density in preparation to go to seventh density. Will all the rest of them automatically manifest into that density? Not correct concept. You're using third density brotherhood-inspired mathematical calculations and ideas. Question. So there's no percentage involved in this. So we have to get every single soul up there. I don't think it is as much that as you can't apply third density mathematics to that level. Let's say a majority. No, but still using third density mathematics. Okay. What criteria constitutes the means of this ultimate transition into seventh density? The lessons completed. Okay. When all the souls transition to seventh density, will all the souls be integrated into one soul? Close. So that is why we have to get everybody, because we all become one on seventh density. What will we then do to change the game and make interesting again? Don't have to do anything. Has, will, is. The fellow who wrote The Ultimate Frontier, was he channeling that information, or did those events he described actually take place? Yes and yes. Was he in fact the reincarnation of King David as he claimed? If he prefers. He lost me when he went off on the things about women and that souls reincarnate as only one sex. Yeah, that's not true. No, that's not so. And I think switching sex has a lot to do with homosexuality, yes, but I don't think a soul has a tendency to be more one than the other. Answer no. I think it ends up being balanced. It is all just lessons. Does the human state of sexuality, such as homosexuality, have something to do with changing sexes from one life to another? Sometimes. Of all the modes of sexual expression, which one is more likely to advance one to fourth density more rapidly? Total celibacy. I think I'll take the slow route. All right. Well, then I'm okay. Laughter. Can you explain why total celibacy? Because you are then letting go of the cravings of the physical. That is celibacy when one has let go of cravings is effortless. Celibacy that is effort is probably not positive because it is done in an effort to get something, i.e. advance to fourth density. Question. It is a third density act when entities, it is a third density act which entice you to third density. Laura, okay, now what is the second most likely? What is the second most likely for advancement? Laughter. Do we have me taken care of? Now we're going to get taken care of. Jay, in order of importance. Laughter. Hi, you guys. Editing Bryce here, just interrupting this for a moment because Paula and I go into deep detail about the idea of desire and falling into physicality in our part 1 episode of The Fallen Angels, which aired yesterday. So if you want more explanations into like the whole celibacy thing and the whole attachment to desire thing and the physicality thing, then once you're done with this episode, I would highly advise you going and watching part 1. I have the thumbnail on the screen right now. That will be in the description box below. Does it matter? It does to Laura. Would you please answer? I suppose that everyone should get to the point that they would simply desire to be totally celibate and totally let go of all physical things and so forth, physical desires and cravings. At this point, hetero, all those, I can't say those words. We also have the ability to take pleasure in our physical bodies in those forms of hokey pokey, going to the prom. And we have the ability to have pleasure in the flesh, and they can't. And what I've read is that they envy that. Is that true? That you envy our physicality? No, not in the least. Laura, I have read that when you're at the higher spiritual levels, that you can do a spiritual merge, which is better than why do you need O's of any kind? Well, it does seem to be like that of an ultimate experience of physicality. That's exactly it, is physicality. If that is so, isn't everything that exists in physical third level world in some way a reflection of experiences or states of being on higher realms? Third density as you experience is an illusion you have been fed to continue your imprisonment therein. That's exactly what I've been saying with the Yoga Sutras. The Yoga Sutras talk about this. This is all illusionary. This is Maya. You have to understand we can't get out of the Maya. We have to understand the Maya, the illusion for what it is. We have to get out of the ego, the false sense of self. So in other words, there's no cosmic O that keeps the world in existence as exemplified by the eternally capitulating Vishnu and Shiva. Well, actually, I don't think she's got that right. Vishnu is masculine and so is Shiva. So she doesn't have her because it's Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. That's the trihead of God, and they're all males. They all have female counterparts, which is all a metaphor of masculine and feminine energy. But Vishnu and Shiva don't capitulate or copulate. They don't do that. They're both masculine. That is bull laughter. Well, they teach this stuff in Eastern religion. No, they don't. No, Laura, they don't teach this in Eastern religion, Laura. They don't. And this is what makes me mad, because you can tell in these transcripts that Laura has never picked up the Yoga Sutras and read them. A lot of these, they don't actually, in India, they're way more conservative than we are. They're way more conservative. Like, they think we're wild in the West. My teacher, before he passed away, used to laugh and say, like, in India, we have one partner. They get arranged marriages. But my Western students, every time I see them, they have a new partner. This is not what they teach in Eastern religions, Laura. Not at all. Not at all. In fact, Tantra yoga is with one partner, not multiple. That actually kind of makes me mad, Laura, because that's misrepresentation, that's inaccurate, and that shows that you just said Vishnu and Shiva. Vishnu and Shiva are not a couple. It's Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Those are the three triheads of God. They're all masculine. Do you mean Parvati? Are you talking about her? Who are you talking about? Because these two people are not a couple. That actually really pisses me off. And that's not what they teach in Eastern religions. That is absolutely not what they teach in Eastern religions. In fact, Hindu monks are celibate. So are Buddhist monks. In fact, the mandir, the Hindu mandir here in Atlanta that I go to sometimes, the monks can't even look at me because I'm a woman. So this is not at all, I want to make that very clear, that is not what they're teaching in Eastern religion. You can tell Laura has spent no time in India. You can tell she has never actually studied Eastern religion. If she read the Vedic text, if she read the Mahabharata, if she read the Ramayana, if she read the Yoga Sutras, this is not what this is about. That really, like, let's talk about the Ramayana, for example. You guys have heard me talk about, I love the Ramayana. Ram marries this chick named Sita. Masculine, feminine. You have this demon named Ravana. Ravana comes and steals Sita. Ram's distraught because Ram can't find his love, his true love. So he hires Hanuman, who is the monkey god, the archangel Michael of Hinduism, to go and find Sita. So Ravana finds Sita in Sri Lanka, the island off of India, in the woods. She's held captive. And Ravana is this 10-headed demon who can't be slain. So I'm just clip notes here, guys. So Hanuman comes up. He knows if he kidnaps Sita and brings her back to Ram, that because Ravana can't be slain, the cycle's just going to continue. Ravana is going to keep stealing Sita away from Ram, and it's just going to be this ultimate cycle of kidnapping. And so he decides, Hanuman's like, I definitely, I've got to. I have to figure out a way to defeat Ravana. He does. I'm dead. Just spoiler. He does, and he returns Sita back to Ram. So this is not a story. The Ramayana, this is not a story of a husband and a wife who gets kidnapped. This is a story about you. This is a metaphor for you. Ram is God, Sita is your soul, Ravana is your ego, Hanuman is your courage. It takes courage to slay the beast who can't be slain, your ego, to return your soul back to God. That's the Ramayana. It's not about Ram and Sita boinking. They don't even talk about that at all. It's a metaphor. And Hanuman is the son of the god of wind, the breath, the power of the breath. He's cheeky, Hanuman. He gets into mischief. Like, that really, really makes me mad, Laura. And I hope in these 30 years you've corrected this, because that's not correct. That's fake news. And I say when that is a rationalization to continue the illusion, I think they're actually referring to Laura's illusion. Let's go back here. Vishnu and Shiva never copulate. They're not a couple. And I know at this point, Laura's still pretty indoctrinated into the church. So hopefully at this point, she realizes her mistake in this, and I hope to God she makes an apology to the Hindu population, because that was horrible. What she just said was awful, was very ignorant. Laura, in this, if you've ever watched this, like in a lot of these earlier texts, you get really upset when they say things about Christianity that you don't want to hear. So when you're talking about other religions, can you give them the same respect? Or are you just going to make fun of other religions with your ignorance? Because that really fucking pisses me off. That really pisses me off. What did the Hindus ever do to you? Let me tell you something. When I'm in India, and I spent many years in India, I have a lot of friends in India. Not once, not ne'er one time, has any of my Hindu friends ever tried to corner me and force me to accept their belief system. Not once. Not once. Not once have any of my Hindu friends ever threatened me or told me I was going to go to hell because I didn't believe what they believed. In fact, all they've ever done has been kind and lovely and have invited me into their homes for religious celebrations. They've explained to me what was going on. They've asked me questions about my faith I had growing up. So if the Hindus can show us Westerners respect, maybe we should also show them respect. And Laura, you talk about, earlier talking about like Tom having to do the work like that, having to well, that's the energy of Shiva that you just mentioned. Shiva, the ring of fire, the Nataraj. That's the fire of karma. That's the work. That's Shiva is the inspiration of yoga and actually going within and doing the work. So in one aspect in this transcript, you're telling Tom that he's going to have to figure this out. So you're using Shiva energy, but now you're bashing Shiva. As the seas have said, these are all metaphors of different energy cycles. Hanuman is the same as Michael, Archangel Michael. Ram is God. Sita is the soul. Just because we're using different words for the same thing because of different cultures doesn't mean they're different things. So anyway, you guys. Laura says, so in other words, the O experience is quite literally to allure to keep us controlled. And the third level, is that true? Yes, but that's not a part of Hinduism. Again, that's not a part of Hinduism. Trust me, they are so freaking conservative in India. Laura, let's go back to the question I asked in another session on the same subject. What happens to our energy at the point of O? Where does that energy go? Drains to fourth level, service to self. Is this a manifestation of the lizards feeding off of us? Service to selfers, there, retrieve it. So O in the third density, manifestation of fourth density, composition of third density energy, one of their methods. Question, in Bringers of the Dawn, it talks all about going to prom, and it says that it's an expression of love and so forth, and that you should not have to go to prom with someone who does not really love you. Love is all that is needed. If two individuals, as an expression of true love at higher levels, desire to express this love in a physical way, is it possible to channel energy in a positive way without feeding the fourth level service to self, guys? Answer, nope. Question, Laura. In other words, no matter what you do, how you think, or whatever, that's where it goes. Going to prom is a physical craving, which is fourth level negative. And we're in negatively, I don't know if I've talked about that before, but our bodies are in negatively polarized bodies. Even though we're trying to go positive, we're in fourth dense or negative service self polarized bodies. Sorry guys, I'm still just so pissed about her like totally messing up the Hindu faith. Like that really makes me mad. That really makes me mad. I'm just still just real like that really. So if you're Hindu, please know I'm speaking up for you. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I guess I should say if you're Hindu, please know that some of us white people understand that that's not your belief system. Some of us have actually studied it and lived in India, and we know that you're not. I've never in my life had any Indian friends talk to me about going to prom. Never. They would never. They're so conservative, they would never. Question V. So when the big transition comes, let me assume everybody who is going to prom at that time or has any kind of going to prom relationships around that time is not going to transition because of that. Laura, I don't think so. Sorry, guys, that was my. Laura says, I don't think so. Where am I? Here we go. Oh, shoot. Well, I just want to get clear. Is that true? No, transition is the millennium, 1,000 years and third level interpretation. So for 1,000 years, we will be living in the physical, living as physical beings in fourth density, so to speak, making this transition during this period. And by the time it's over, we will have done away with our physical appetites. Answer, close. Some will be there at the beginning, others will need more time. So when we're on fourth density, we are still in the physical and we will be consuming Will we then be consuming that energy from third density, the O energy or something like that? Some, even if we go service to self or service to others, not if completely service to other. Then how do we get energy? When we get energy from each other, which is more powerful, the service, well, we have to be service to others. That is because service to other multitudes and grows. Service to self just fragments and segregates and gets smaller and smaller. The law of diminishing returns. We can access or receive others' energies as given our own. Answer, yes. Now, here's the thing, too. They also have said in fourth density positive, we will be going to prom. They have said that we will be doing that we will be creating life with our bodies, like as in Shmesh going to prom. So that makes sense that it's all a transition. So fourth density, even positive. What I'm getting from that seems to be a transition where you still have some, because you only have to be 51% service to others. So you still have some service to self traits, but are slowly recycling out of you. Okay, question. Well, then that's where service to others is service to self. Is there any last messages? I feel like a lot of changing going on here. Is there anything for any of us in the way of guidance? Only if requested specifically. Question, am I contacting you when I channel at home? Yes, but be careful of corrupting influences. Soul search, T redacted. T, I've been soul searching and soul surfing too. Is Keen Industries going to do anything with me? Wait and see. Will I be able to contact you here? End of session. All right, you guys, that was a long one. I hope you guys like that one. And hopefully I'm going to give Laura the benefit of the doubt. I hope in the 30 years she realized the hokey pokey is not, it's not a part of Eastern philosophy and religion. Tantric yoga is not what you think it is. So many people have corrupted that. Sting, I'm looking at you. It's one partner. It's about you working on yourself. So, all right, you guys, until next time, I will see you all very soon.